Hey guys, my name's Adam,
I'm Tor.
and today we're going to be reviewing The Man of Steel, the new Superman movie out 2013. And Tor has her little Superman toy. So, what did you think of the movie?
I loved it. Because I've been waiting forever for them to make a really good Superman movie because he's my favorite. And all the ones they've made recently, well, not really recently, but all the previous remakes of the Superman movies have been a little bit terrible.
Yeah, they've been pretty bad actually. I thought it was a pretty good movie. It was a lot more sci-fi than I was expecting. I sort of, Christopher Nolan's name is in the credits. I sort of expected it to be Superman sort of, I don't know, doing everyday nitty-gritty things sort of like Batman Begins was. But it wasn't directed by Nolan, it was just written by him, so sort of got away from that a bit, eh?
Well, I like the fact that they didn't jam-pack the first half of the movie with showing him growing up and all that stuff because everybody's seen it before.
Actually, yes, I wanted to talk about that, but go on.
They worked it in throughout the movie in a very smart way.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly how I felt, is that they would sort of show you little bits of the plot and then give you these, they have to tell the backstory for this new audience, I guess. I don't know. Is it a new audience? I guess. They have to tell the backstory of Superman, like his childhood and stuff, so they give you these little small, short, digestible clips, and right when you're sort of thinking like, alright, I've seen this before, right when it gets to the point where it's like, I already know this, it goes back to the story, It's, it keeps you interested. It shows you an interesting peek at his life, and then it's like, okay, I've sort of seen this before. Then it goes back and tells you, goes back to the story, right?
Yeah.
So what else do you think about it, baby?
I like that, I don't want to give too much away about the plot, but I like that they didn't basically show it in the same way as they had done before. They didn't have him being this mild-mannered reporter.
Yeah.
And like knowing Lois Lane before he or after he's Superman, I guess.
See,
they tell it in a different way, so that makes more sense in the modern era, because really, if you keep trying to tell the story in the same way that you used to before, cell phones and email and the internet and all that stuff, it falls apart at the seams if you keep telling it that way, because it's so easy to find information on people nowadays that it's impossible for Lois Lane to not know who Superman is.
See, that's what I disagree. I sort of thought, like, they took a lot of liberties with this story that I didn't think needed to be taken. I do read comic books, but I've never been a follower of Superman. I never read very many of his comics, and, I think everybody's vaguely familiar with the idea of, like, Lois Lane falls in love with Superman and rejects Clark Kent, and he can't reveal his identity. That sort of silly old, like, 1940s, 50s storyline that sort of... And then eventually they got married and whatever. I think we're all familiar with that, and then this sort of... You show up to this movie and they completely throw it out the window. It was, like I said, they took a lot of liberties that I wasn't expecting, right?
I like that, though, because... like, they have told that same old story over and over again, so here they're making it a little more interesting, or just at least different.
Yeah, I agree. You can't say that we've seen this story before when, there's parts of it that you'll say, oh, I've seen this before, and at the same time you can't criticize it for changing the story. You have to sort of pick one, and they do sort of do a good balancing act, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part?
My favorite part... I don't know. It's kind of hard.
Okay.
I don't know. I really liked when he's on the crab fishing boat, and it's sort of a really good introduction to Superman's character when he's being called Greenhorn, and some guy like pushes him out of the way because he thinks he's going to get crushed by this falling crab trap, and basically calls him a schmuck because he's not being careful. But he's not being careful because he doesn't have to be careful, but at the same time his carelessness endangered this other guy.
Okay.
So it sort of shows that he's still not at the point where he's Superman because he's not thinking about the big picture, he's just thinking about himself.
Okay, I gotcha.
And then they see this oil rig that's on fire and people are gonna be trapped inside and dying, and he goes and saves them and whatever and falls into the ocean, and then he sees blue whales.
So it's sort of a quintessential pre-Superman Superman story.
Yeah, it's kind of like, to me it was sort of like showing a bit of a turning point where he was just made this sacrifice of, I mean, everybody who he saved saw who he was, but obviously nobody gave that away, but I don't know. I guess I'm not really explaining it that well.
No, yeah, you did a good job. Did you pick up any themes in the movie?
Any themes?
Yeah, any sort of morals that they were trying to teach us?
All the classic Superman morals
Yeah.
that are covered in every Superman
Well, I mean,
movie.
anything worth mentioning to this? There was one that I don't know, I wanted to talk about, but...
What?
Well, the first like half of the movie, I was sort of expecting the theme to be like to live to your fullest, because there's sort of Lois Lane's boss, and Superman their lives would be a lot greater if they just revealed this big secret about Superman, right? But they don't, you know. There's some terrible things that happen. I don't want to spoil the movie just because Superman is not living as Superman. He's sort of worried about other people's opinions, and I thought that they sort of encouraged that. Like, I didn't feel like they went against that at any point in the movie. They said, like, this is the right way for Superman to live, I think, right?
Well, I think it was, it had to be the right moment, and the right moment was when General Zod came to Earth, because, I mean, it showed, you know, he let his father die
Okay,
to
well,
keep a secret.
I didn't want to mention that,
Well,
but yeah.
I've already talked about other scenes in the movie, so
Okay.
we'll just put a big spoiler alert at the beginning. But he let his father die, you know.
Yeah.
His father was always saying, you know, you have to keep your secret, you have to keep your secret. When he saves a busload of kids, his dad's like, you know, maybe you shouldn't have done that, maybe you should have let them die.
Yeah, maybe you should have let kids die. I disagreed with that wholeheartedly. I disagreed, you know, he let his father die because he was worried about other people's opinion, and like,
But his dad wanted him to.
Yeah, his dad wanted him to, that's true. I respect that, but at the same time it's like, you're worried about other people's opinion? You're fucking Superman, like, you know what I mean?
I don't think he was worried about their opinion.
I know, but it's like, how would the world react was sort of what they kept reiterating, and I thought, like, well...
But I don't think it's a reaction directly to Superman. I think it's a reaction within the human race. Like, what kind of a turnaround would happen? Would it be for the better or for the worse? Like, if there's suddenly a Superman, are people gonna just keep living normally? Are people just gonna keep going to work? Are people, you know, who knows what will happen when suddenly we have proof of something crazy and supernatural?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that could be a cue for all shit to hit the fan.
Yeah, it's very Watchmen-esque. The Superman exists and he's American. But
But he's actually Canadian.
yeah, Superman was made in Toronto, right? Originally created by a Torontonian. Now, anything you didn't like, even though we sort of disagree on that one point about the theme, I still say I guess that would be one of the things I don't like, is I think life is for living. You should live life to the fullest, but...
I think that's the realization, though, when he turns into Superman, that in the end it reinforces your point.
That you need to
Where
live life to the fullest.
He wasn't being Superman,
He was
and
being-
terrible things were happening, and when he finally put on the cape and became Superman, then
He was
he
living.
stopped all the terrible things. So.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And so anything you didn't like? Because you love this movie, right?
Yeah, there was definitely parts of it that I didn't like. I didn't like how long the final fight was.
I loved that. I thought
you
it
think
was
that the
kinda
movie's over, and then bam, they bust out this like 10-minute long fight sequence, and it's like I'm watching it and they're destroying buildings, and it's like all I can think of is how many people are dying because these buildings are collapsing on them and stuff like that.
Well, I sort of took the opposite. I thought, like, people aren't dying, but their shit's getting messed up. You know, they can deal with it.
But you don't.
Yeah, you
they
don't
were
really
knocking
know.
over
You don't,
buildings.
Yeah, that's true.
To
Yeah.
me,
They don't explicitly show it, but yeah, I guess you can't watch that and not.
You can't
think people
destroy
are
a
bad.
city
Yeah.
and not kill anybody.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I feel like Superman should have taken that fight out of the city sooner than continuing.
But the visuals.
It doesn't matter. You could have him busting Zod through trees.
Yeah, I
and
guess that's
throw him
true.
into a volcano. You know.
Yeah, from a realistically, can he just sort of say, "Hey, let's hold on and go in the woods and fight"?
You just punch him in the right direction.
I don't know about that. That's he is Superman, but he's fighting a Superman too, right? So there's only so much he can do to control it.
Yeah. I also didn't like how quickly Zod adapted to Earth's climate.
Yeah.
I mean, that took Superman, Clark Kent, his entire life to do that, and Zod was just like, takes 3 steps out of his ship and goes, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, from a movie telling point of view, he has to be a formidable opponent, right? He can't be struggling to get powerful.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, they could have done it other ways. They could have, they could have spent a year building up to this fight, right? But whatever.
It was very fast paced. The whole movie happened very quickly.
Yeah, well, I thought it did drag a little bit at times in the beginning before the action, but once the action started, it was like, wow, Kryptonians fighting on Earth, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So, are we gonna get into the spoilers? Because that's
We
where
already have.
yeah, but I mean, from this point on, we're going to be talking about spoilers because my likes and dislikes are things that are sort of spoilerish. So this is where I'm going to talk about my likes and dislikes. Oh my god, who are you?
I'm a mild-mannered reporter.
So, okay, there's the one thing, is you go the whole movie without seeing a pair of glasses. I love that. And then in the last scene, they're just like, I'm Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter. This guy, for those of you, okay, Superman in this movie, in my opinion, is worse at hiding his identity than Spider-Man is in the Spider-Man movies. He's just flying around, showing who he is. People have grown up seeing him, see his face on the news, and it's like, everybody knows who this guy is, right?
I liked when he gets thrown through the IHOP.
Mm-hmm.
And
his friend recognizes him.
Pete Wentz is there and sees him, and it's like, he's not even trying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was an accident, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think the point was for him to hide.
No, I agree. Yes, I agree. That wasn't what this story was about, and that's a good thing too. But what I wanted to say that I did like was General Zod. When I'm a big fan of in comic books and in movies, that sort of that tipping point moment where a character sort of, that they've been a bad person their whole life, and then there's this really significant moment in their life, and that's when they decide they're gonna go fully evil, or they're gonna say, you know what, this is the defining moment where they sort of see it as a symbol of why I'm good or bad, but really they've been bad their whole life. Once all the Kryptonians are dead and Zod goes, I have no reason left to live except for to kill all the humans. It's like, oh, I love that. That's the sort of the birth of a villain. I love that sort of stuff.
I feel like it was the birth of a villain, but it was also the moment where it became okay for Superman to snap his fucking neck.
And that's the part I didn't like is I always thought Superman doesn't kill. Like,
But that's
rule
not
number
right.
1 of Superman, he doesn't fucking kill.
Superman doesn't kill humans.
See, you said that before we did this, and I don't know about that. I mean, I think that he killed Doomsday, and Doomsday's an alien, so I'm gonna, like I said, I've read comics, but I don't follow Superman well enough to know, I know Batman doesn't kill. I don't know about aliens. I've read
Does
a bit.
Batman kill aliens?
I don't know. I haven't read I've read some comic books of Batman, but I've never read one where he fights an alien that I can think of. I think there's one where he fights the Predator. I never read it though, so I don't know how that goes. Batman doesn't really deal with aliens a lot. He's more crazy people,
Yeah.
But no, I thought rule number 1 of Superman was he doesn't kill. He shows mercy. He shows restraint. He can snap your neck, blow you to the moon or whatever, but he doesn't. That was his struggle. To me, that was it. And apparently he kills aliens.
Well, I'm just saying, his fight with Zod killed a lot of people inadvertently, obviously. And also,
Yeah, but he doesn't. He's not directly responsible for killing them. He doesn't snap their fucking neck.
yeah, but okay, he told the people how to create a black hole to kill all the other Kryptonians. Same
Yeah.
thing.
I suppose.
You know, it's like,
Well, he doesn't. But he doesn't pull the trigger on it, right? Yeah.
I don't know. I think that saying Superman doesn't kill is very...
No, he doesn't kill. I know that.
Okay, but he may not fly into your house and punch your heart out of your chest while you're taking a shower, but if he stops a missile from exploding and tosses it and it lands on your house and crushes you while you're in the shower, he still killed you.
I think that Superman is very careful not to kill people, and
Not in this movie.
not in this movie. Well, I don't know. Anything I've ever been exposed to is Superman doesn't kill. So
Superman kills aliens.
apparently the way you worded it was like, oh, maybe that's true. Is he doesn't kill humans. He doesn't kill people on Earth. So if that's true, then hey, I got nothing to complain about. I'm not a hardcore fan. I don't know enough about it to know. So
I don't know.
overall,
I'm pretty sure he kills aliens.
you're pretty sure, but you haven't read the comics very much either, eh?
No.
You've read a little, or
A few of them, yeah.
so you don't, yeah. So we're not claiming to be authorities on it. Yeah.
I watched a lot of Smallville.
A lot of Smallville. Does he kill aliens in Smallville?
Sometimes.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't think that.
So, well, in Smallville, it's not really about aliens. It's about like humans that have been infected by kryptonite and
But he doesn't kill them.
meteor freaks. Sometimes they die.
Really?
It doesn't like kill them, but sometimes they die or like turn
Well, that's
into
like-
lightning and disappear, stuff like that. But
Well, that's like in Batman Begins, where he sets it up for Ra's al Ghul to die, and instead of they say, well, you can't let me, or he goes, I don't kill, but I also don't have to save you, and then he watches him die. You know?
yeah, like kind of a thing, right?
There is a difference, I think.
And that's another thing about this movie. Kryptonite was not in it.
Yeah. So anyway, we've been going on for a long time about this movie. I think it's, one of the top Superman movies. I don't remember the ones from the 80s very well, but I'd say this one, you're probably going to enjoy it more than those ones. So I'd say check this movie out. What do you say?
I give it 10 meteorites and no meteor wrongs.
I don't. In the context of this movie, that's bad though. That's like negative points, right? Maybe you should rate it out of like Earth suns instead of meteorites. Unless you thought it sucked. How much is it?
I give it 20 Earth suns out of 10.
Wow! Alright, there we go. So check it out, and if you liked it, hit like, and of course, leave a comment below telling us what you thought, and subscribe to our channels, because we have different ones.
Yeah.
And I get to put this on my channel.
No, I'm gonna put on mine.
Alright.
Arm wrestling for it.
Oh.
I won!
Yeah, no, you
I won!
didn't. Ah. Oh.